I'd like to welcome you all. I'm Maggie Klein. Um, I'm with the Manor Club, and I'm organized this program. The Manor Club is currently closed because of the pandemic for member programs, and that's why we're on Zoom. And we are open to female and male membership. We have member programs, we have community programs, and we hope someday we'll be reopened so that we can have them in the building. But right now we are doing our best with these Zoom programs. We have a website, the Manor Club of Pelham.org. This meeting will be recorded. Our other Zoom community programs have been recorded. They're on the website as well. There's also a little donate button on the website in case anyone wants to donate to help us keep the building operating. It still has to have heat and utilities, even though the building is closed. We welcome you tonight, and we welcome our participants. The program is everyone stays muted and during Missy's presentation, and then you can submit questions to her via chat so that we don't speak over each other. And then I will read the questions to her. Now, Missy is a Pelham resident, and she's going to tell us the story of how she started County Harvest. But many of you may know it already, but she's going to tell us the story, and then where we are now in the middle of this pandemic and how County Harvest is serving the hungry. So over to you, Missy.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you everyone for coming. Usually when I tell this story, or often when I tell the story, it's not to exclusively Pelham people. So when I say the names of places, nobody really knows what I'm talking about, but that'll be different today, which is kind of nice. So the way County Harvest got started is in 2009, I was volunteering to serve lunch at Prospect Hill Elementary School, where my kids were at the time. And that year, I volunteered on Fridays, which were Pasta Fridays. So at the end of the lunch hour, there was a whole tray of pasta with butter that they didn't use, and another tray of turkey meatballs that they didn't use with sauce. And rather than see it get thrown away, I thought of a soup kitchen that I had done some work with when I was active with the Junior League. And so I called Community Service Associates in Mount Vernon and asked if they would be willing to take the food if that was interesting to them. And they were thrilled to have it. So I brought it over there, and I did that for a couple of weeks. And they really liked the prepared food. So on Wednesdays, I started bringing the leftover chicken fingers from the lunch program over to them as well. And they were really excited to have it. So the next time I went, I asked them, what else can I do to help? What else do you need? And they said, someone had been bringing them bagels every morning, but that person couldn't do it anymore. So they really needed bagels for their breakfast program. So I went over to Renaissance Bagel and asked if they would save bagels for me. And they did. And so I would go in the morning and pick up the bagels, and I took them over to CSA. And then after 2 days, they had so many bagels, they told me, this is way too many bagels. Why don't you bring some down the road to the Armory, where they have a senior center? And so the next day I brought them down to the Armory. The day after that, the Armory said, this is way too many bagels for us. Why don't you bring them down the road to the Salvation Army? So I brought them to the Salvation Army, and I quickly learned bagels are very easy to come by. And I went back to CSA and asked them, okay, so I was already bringing them the pasta and the meatballs on Fridays, and then the chicken fingers, and now the bagels. And I asked what else could they use, and they really liked the prepared food. That was really helpful for them in the program and the way they ran their soup kitchen. So there aren't a lot of caterers up here in Westchester. I grew up on Long Island, and there are caterers everywhere. So, but there is Giuliano's down the road, and I went over to Giuliano's, and I was able to meet with David. He was a great guy, and he said he would save food from their events, and then he did. And I started bringing them all the food from their catered events also. And not long after that, Fairway opened in Pelham, and that was really when we took off. And I remember Maggie was putting stuff in the Have You Heard for us, and pretty soon I had a couple of volunteers, people that I had never even met before, who were willing to, come out and help and bring and deliver this food. And that's really how it got started. And we've taken off from there. We have over 600 volunteers in our database now, and I think about 80 to 100 or so are active every month. We've collected over 5.5 million pounds of food since we've started, and we have probably about 3 dozen or so agencies and another 3 dozen food donors that we pick up from. We pick up 7 days a week. And the way in case you don't know, the way we work is a volunteer will sign up for a run, go to the food donor, pick up everything that they have, and then drive it immediately over to an agency that's been pre-planned for them, and drop it off. And it only takes about an hour to 2 at the most to do a food rescue run with us. So we were going along really great for a while, and it's been terrific. And then COVID hit, and the changes that took place, last winter for our partner agencies, and then for us, and it's been amazing to see how much our agencies, how much they did before, but even how much they do now is really unbelievable. Some of them are 1,000% literally more busy than they were before, and it's encouraging to see them doing all that work, but it's sad too at the same time. So that's kind of our whole story. I don't know if you want me to tell more.
Well, let me ask you, but what about the food availability? Are the restaurants, do they have the food since they've had to cut back?
So we never really picked up from a lot of restaurants because they really cook to order. So at the end of the night, there isn't that much left over. But a lot of our corporate food owners have closed. So we were picking up from PepsiCo in Purchasing and White Plains, they're closed. We were picking up from Regeneron in White Plains, and they're closed. And a lot of the corporate caterers like that are closed. The country clubs, it's sort of what they weren't comfortable donating anymore. But our supermarkets, they're all still open. So DeCicco's, Trader Joe's, Restaurant Depot, those have all been great. But a lot of the agencies also had to close. So, as big as the need was, some of them weren't able to be open. Like the Armory, for example, is a city building in Mount Vernon. So they were shut down. So we couldn't even deliver to them anymore. And CSA was in the Armory too. And we can't deliver to them right now either. So it's kind of frustrating.
So in this area, where do you deliver? Hope? Do you deliver to Hope?
Yeah, so we deliver to a lot. I would say, most of our agencies are open now. Maybe 8 or 9 are still closed. The rest of them are open. So in New Rochelle, we deliver to Hope, the New Rochelle CAP, Oasis Shelter. In Mount Vernon, I should have my list. In Mount Vernon, we do Life Progressive Services, the Mount Vernon CAP. We deliver in Yonkers to the YWCA and the YMCA, the Nepperhan Community Center. We're in Tarrytown. We're in Port Chester a lot, White Plains a lot. They're all still open, and they're doing, some of the agencies in Port Chester, which I thought was so interesting, they kind of banded together, and the largest one is Caritas of Port Chester, and they have the biggest space. So they would house a lot of the food that was being donated, that stuff we would bring to them and things that they were getting from other people as well. And then they would parse it out and then deliver it to the other agencies in Port Chester, which was great that they managed to work together that way. Not all of them, not all of the other towns operate the way they do at Port Chester.
So do you get food from Port Chester supermarkets too?
We get from the Wegmans in Harrison that opened recently. That goes up to Port Chester. There's a Restaurant Depot in Port Chester that goes to them. There's a Trader Joe's in Hartsdale. Sometimes that goes up to them. But so They're nearby.
And your volunteers, are they all from Pelham?
No, all over the county. I mean, all the way up to like Ossining and Peekskill, Brewster. They're all over. It used to be a time at the beginning where I literally knew almost every volunteer because, you know, she was around from Pelham and I would know people. And that changed a long time ago. I mean, there are names of people popping up all the time. I have no idea who they are, which is great.
And they just use their own car?
Yes, they can use, most people use their own car, especially if they have a minivan or an SUV. But we do have 3 Ford Transit Connects, which are like kind of like a minivan size, even though they're technically a van, they're small. And if you, for some of the runs, we know that it's always going to be a lot of food from certain food donors. So we assign a van to those runs. And most of the time people will use it. And if not, they can still use their car. As long as it's big.
Where did you get those vans?
So the first one we got from a donation from Christ Church in Pelham, and that bought the first van, which was amazing. And the second and the third were donated from a family foundation out on Long Island. It's a small world story there. Girl I went to high school with contacted me, and it was a friend of hers and their family, and then poof, there we had 2 vans. So we have 3.
Okay, now you're a nonprofit.
Yes, we're a 501c3.
Explain all that. And you take donations.
Yes, we take donations.
And your website.
What?
And where is your website?
Oh, okay, right. So we're a 501c3. It's countyharvest.org. You can donate on our website. There's a little button, or you can mail a check to us. We have a P.O. box at the post office here in Pelham, because we do not have an office, a warehouse, or any paid staff. We're 100% volunteer. So all the mail goes to the P.O. box. And what was the other question? What was the other part of that?
Well, that's the whole thing there.
Okay.
You got it all right. Okay, so what is the money that's donated? What is it used for? The vans?
Well, so the second and the third van were actually donated with 5 years of gas and maintenance and insurance along with it. Now they're over 5 years old now, but for a long time, those vans cost us nothing. So yeah, so what we need money for is the vans, you know, for insurance, and then the computer consultant, but that's pretty much it. The rest of the money goes straight back to our agencies. And because, you know, people are, you know, we'll apply for some grants throughout the year. I mean, this year we weren't able to because of COVID, but usually we can manage to get enough to pay for those expenses. And then if we have donations, what we'd like to do is give it back to our agencies. So we set up a program called Holiday Helpings, which we just did now for this year, where it's hard for our agencies. It's hard for them at this time of year. There's so much more need. They're trying to get turkeys for everybody for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And so we wanted to find a way to help them. And at first we started out by doing a food drive for them, but then we realized it was almost more hassle for them, for us to try and bring them all this food that we collected at a food drive, because they have so much they need to store just for their holiday pantry give outs and their holiday cooking, that we realized they really just needed the funds. They needed to be able to buy turkeys for their clients. So now we give out money each November for our Holiday Helpings program. And this year we doubled it because, you know, it's COVID. And so hopefully, you know, that'll help make things a little bit easier for them. And then the money that we've been raising since COVID started, you know, we're lucky we have a really good network, and we have a lot of volunteers and people who like what we're doing and want to help. Maybe they can't necessarily do a food rescue run for whatever reason, but people want to help in some way. And so we started our COVID-19 emergency fund, and any money that we've raised, we've just written checks back out to the agencies that were open. And so we've raised $74,000 since the spring and given it all out. So we're really proud of that. And we're hoping to be able to raise some more. We're going to start another, like a little push of a campaign in January and see if we can get up to 100,000, you know, as a goal, to really try and help them. Because what we're finding is they just are inundated with people. You know, the longer this goes on, the more people end up out of work or, have the reduced hours and salaries, and they can't make ends meet. And people are showing up for food pantries and soup kitchens that never in a million years thought they would be there. So, we're just trying to help in any way we can. And if we can write checks, we'll write checks.
So how much of your day is spent on County Harvest?
Nobody believes me when I say this, but it's not that much. It depends on the day, but it's not full time. And I wouldn't say I'm sitting here in my office all day, every day. I can do, and since there's no office and everything can be done on my phone or my computer, a lot of times it's just answering a quick email, or, sometimes I have to sit down for a couple hours and figure something out, but I'd say it's like part-time-ish, maybe.
You do have a board, though.
Yes, good one. I do have a board. There are 11 of us on the board. So we operate, a lot like the Junior League. And I was on the board of the Junior League when I was in that. And I really thought that model worked so well. So when County Harvest was getting bigger and bigger and I needed help, people were offering to help. And they were just offering to help. And I thought, well, we don't need a staff. And every once in a while it comes up, do we want to hire somebody? And I thought, why would we need to hire somebody and fundraise to pay a salary if people are willing to do this just to do it? So we're 11 now. Everybody has a role like the league, like the Junior League. So there's someone who does like the Facebook posts, someone who does the PR, someone who's in charge of the volunteers, someone who's in charge of the agencies, another the food donors, the schedule. There's a couple more, but that's basically how it goes for us. And I think it works great. We're always looking for more board members too.
So do you have any idea what high school students could do to help you, since they're supposedly going to be in school during the day? I mean, most of your food runs are during the day, right?
Yes, most of them take place in the morning. So some are on the weekends. A lot of the agencies close on the weekends, but we do have some weekend runs that they can do. We've found that high school students are really good at organizing and rallying their group. So food drives tend to work really well for us when we work with students like that. They can do it around any event or holiday, or they can do a food drive and just have it go towards one agency, or we can split it up. But, we like to focus our food drives on an agency, and then we can ask them, what is it that they need? What are the 4 or 5 items you're really short on right now? And then the students can do a food drive for that. I think, that works really well.
Okay, we have a question.
Cool.
How have the Pelham Cares Initiative and County Harvest collaborated?
So Palm Cares did the Couch Fest, right? They were part of the whole.
Yes.
Yes. So that was enormous. I mean, that whole event was huge, and it raised a ton of money for us. So we are extremely grateful for that. So, I mean, that money, we also was part of our COVID fund campaigning that I mentioned. So we were able to give that right out to our agencies also. And they were really thrilled.
Now, how about Thanksgiving in a Box? That's just a whole separate operation, right?
Yeah, that's through Huguenot Church, but they always have extra, and so Sid will call and we'll pick up the extra and then bring it over to Hope. So.
Okay. Any more questions, people? You're sitting there. I see you. How about Jamie? Nevin, come on. You got any questions?
You're on the spot now.
I guess I have a question about, in terms of, like, I know for Hope Kitchen Interact is going to be volunteering and doing the pantry give out, where we help give out food to the recipients. And I was just wondering, does County Harvest, because I know it's mainly a food drive and like delivering service, is there any opportunities where we can also help give out something similar like the pantry give out and help give out food?
We don't give out food directly to clients like Hope does. We like you said, we pick up the excess food and then we drop it off to them. But Hope had Hope added their mobile pantry. So they used to do their regular pantry, give out twice a month. And then COVID started and they decided they were missing, or not missing, but there was a whole population of people that lived in a certain part of New Rochelle that couldn't get to them. So they started a mobile pantry, and we help bring the pantry bags over. We will get a couple of volunteers to take 2 of the vans, drive them over to Hope, and then drive them to that other location for them. So that's a way to get involved with us and with them at the same time. But that's about as close as we come to actually handing food directly to people.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else?
I have a question. So if we wanted to reach out to like contact the organization to get involved, is there like a specific email address we should use to contact you?
You can call me, Missy at countyharvest.org. And if I can't answer it, I can put you in touch with the person that can.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions? Diana, do you want to be unmuted?
I was going to ask a question, Maggie. Can you hear me? It's Chris Cowan.
Go ahead, Chris. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so how do you keep track of all this, Missy? I'm so impressed sitting here listening to you.
I'm extremely organized.
It's all computerized, I suppose, that you have this, and you
It
have
is.
someone that manages that for you?
Yes, it is now. You know, when I started, I had a little spiral notebook, and I would go around and I'd write the date, and then I'd write where I picked up from and write where I dropped off to. And so I had this whole notebook. And then we got Roland Rogers, who was a dad at Huguenot when my kids were at Huguenot. He was our computer consultant at first, and he set up the whole our first iteration of the website and the database. So basically everything is online now. All the volunteers are online. All the runs are online. If you volunteer with us, you'll get a login, and you log into your dashboard, and you can pick which runs you want to volunteer for. And then when you're done doing your run, you log back into your dashboard and you report on how much you picked up, you know, the number of boxes or bags in each item. And that all gets, you know, housed in the database. And then the schedule is all in there. And yeah, it's not that hard. It's all online.
I am so impressed. What is your background? And I mean,
you know,
like, what did you used to do in your other life before you had kids and that sort of thing? I'm just curious.
I worked in commercial banking for a little while, and then I actually worked for the city of New York back before Rudy went crazy.
Do you have a business background or a finance background?
Economics, but yeah.
Economics.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just so impressive because I see the vans parked over at
Yes.
the church, at Christ Church.
Yes, we have 2 parked there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just amazing. I have such admiration for you for what you've done. It's incredible to just get this all off the ground. How many years has it been now?
11.
Wow,
I know.
it's great.
Flew by though, I tell you. Yeah. It's been
Through
great.
the pandemic and everything else, you managed to keep on going.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
I mean, we felt the pressure, you know, the pandemic was hard because it was a lot of juggling of the schedule, you know, which agencies were closed, and we didn't want to stop picking up all that food and have it all of a sudden be thrown away again. So we
Sure.
rerouted all of those runs to the places that were still open. And then we have a lot of volunteers with the ARC Westchester program.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So they shut down completely. And I always knew we were a little too dependent on them for a while because we had so many volunteers that were from them. And so when they shut down, then we were scrambling for a bit. But what amazed me is how many people, even though we were completely locked down, you know, everyone everywhere, we had so many people sign up to volunteer during the pandemic. So all the runs were filled all the time. And it amazed me. People just stepped up like you can't believe. We were thrilled.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
'Cause I read somewhere that Hope Kitchen,
Yeah.
the Hope Soup Kitchen, that their need for food now is equivalent to the last 10 years combined. I mean, it sounds like it's a phenomenal number, but with everything going on, I guess that's probably true. I thought I read it wrong. I thought I read it wrong.
No, they said they're up 1,300% from COVID. And they
Wow.
added a whole nother 2 other layers. So they added the mobile pantry, which added like another 1,000 people every other week that they were preparing these bags for. They also added a whole delivery program where they're delivering 1,100 meals to the elderly each week also, which is totally new. Like the agencies, it's amazing to me, they're just reinventing themselves. Instead of cooking and then serving cafeteria style, now they're cooking and boxing them up individually and giving them out or delivering them, or they're.
So they actually go to private homes to deliver.
Some do, yeah.
Some do. The shut-ins that can't get out, the elderly that can't get out or afraid to go out.
Yep, shouldn't go out, right?
Yeah, they're afraid to go out. Wow, incredible.
Yes. That's why, there's only so much food we can bring. The supermarkets will only, they're going to have what they have to give us. I can't change that at all. So, at the start of COVID, for some of the agencies, they couldn't even manage to, they were so inundated and so busy, like just going and buying the extra eggs they needed was too much sometimes. Like they're so short staffed to begin with. So we had a delivery go from like Ace Endico, one of those places, to deliver dozens and dozens of eggs that they needed for their give out. So we also try to shift when we can to help them more and just give them what they need so they can keep working, because they're really doing the important work. I mean, they're the ones actually feeding people. So
Yeah, but you're providing the food so they can feed the people.
so we're helping, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing story. It really is. Yeah.
I'm Kathy Flynn, and I just started volunteering, Missy, and I just want to say, I too, as Chris said, am so impressed with the whole organization and how smooth everything goes.
Thank you.
Just pick up, I go, bump, done in an hour or two, and it's really great. It's
Thank
really
you. I have
Thank
seen-
you. Thank you. That's why I'm saying
Yeah, thank you.
for
Appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
Go ahead, Diana.
You originally started with Prospect Hill and the extra food that was at the lunchtime. Did it expand to other schools in the district, the Savinoy and Hutch and Colonial, and also the high school?
It's for a little bit we were picking up from Savinoy also, mostly like the milks and the little packages of apples or carrots that they used to give out. The high school didn't really want to, the way they operate, it was sort of like, Monday's chicken is Tuesday's chicken salad is Wednesday.
Yeah.
By the time it got to Friday, there wasn't really anything to pick up. And then what I learned about the Prospect Hill stuff that we were picking up, which we were picking it up hot. We were taking it hot and bringing it over. That's kind of a no-no now. So I know that now that we only pick up food after it's been chilled down. It's been in the refrigerator or in the freezer overnight. That's the safest way to transport the food. I learned that after we really got, we got our 501c3. I became Serve Safe certified and learned all of the do's and don'ts for, moving food like that. So
you were
Mamaroneck does what?
You were very fortunate that you didn't know that. So
But nobody would. I know. It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
what about Mamaroneck?
Oh, so I met a woman in Larchmont who wanted Mamaroneck schools to donate. So before COVID, they were giving their milks and the little packages of snacks and whatever. So we would take those a couple of times a week, and that's fine. That was all good. But
Very good.
Yeah.
Great job.
thank you,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in? Unmute.
I have another question.
Sure.
So I know that in a lot of like natural disasters, like hurricane or earthquake or something, usually you see like an uptick in donations of like non-perishable foods. I'm wondering in the pandemic if you're seeing a rise in those kind of foods, or still mostly just like hot foods.
We pick up a lot of non-perishables ordinarily anyway. I think people are trying to donate whenever they can, but COVID also made people really scared. So some of our agencies that would normally take just about anything won't anymore because they're a little too nervous about it. But non-perishables are always great. Boxes of pasta and cans of sauce and stuff like that are always needed and wanted. So.
Incredible.
Okay, here's another question. Have to jump, but want to thank Missy for all the wonderful work. Thanks for arranging this. Somebody's jumping off.
Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else have a question?
So the program runs 52 weeks of the year. You're doing this. There's no breaks.
There's no breaks.
There's no
Well, I mean,
breaks. People are always hungry. There's no breaks.
they
when people
are,
hungry.
but we are closed when the schools are closed or federal holidays, because, you know, people think that on Thanksgiving, soup kitchens are serving a meal on Thanksgiving. They aren't. They're closed. They're closed on Christmas. They're closed Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. You know, they're closed Martin Luther King weekend. So yes, we are open all the time, but except when they're closed.
Mm.
And then, you know, and then we have found that if we're closed when the schools are closed, that's usually when our volunteers are going to cancel anyway. And the agencies are closed. So it just made sense to follow that calendar.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
If the soup kitchens are closed on Christmas and Thanksgiving, is there like a week before where people can come and get maybe like,
Yes, they'll
if they
usually, exactly. They'll usually have their, before COVID, if it were a soup kitchen, they'd have their Thanksgiving, you know, dinner maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving. You know, they would all pick their day, whatever works best for them and for their community. And same for Christmas. This year, they worked it as a give out. It's more like a pantry bag.
is there like special meals or anything? Like they have a special thing so that maybe families can come in if they're not able to provide like a nice Thanksgiving meal or a nice Christmas traditional meal?
Well, I think they put stuff into the pantry bag that is appropriate. Like I know for Thanksgiving, they would do like the pumpkin, the cans of pumpkin pie stuff and like the cranberries and stuffing, and they'll make the bag around the holiday as best they can. And then they're trying to buy turkeys. I think Hope buys thousands of turkeys for people so that everybody can get a turkey, which is remarkable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do you think that these two young people should work directly with Hope or should work with you?
However they want. I mean, we're happy to have them, but I know Hope. Hope is a great organization. So, you know, they're one of the best run, largest, you know, soup kitchen, food pantry organizations in the county. So you couldn't be at a better place. And I know the director there, and I know you must know JD Calder now because he's in charge of the volunteers there. So it's just a great group of people. So you really can't go wrong. I mean, if you want to do food rescue runs and try something else, or food drive, you can food drive through us for Hope or just for Hope. You know, whatever you guys wanted to do, we're happy to support.
Wow. Impressive.
That's a good way to describe it. We thank you very much, Missy.
Thank you.
Most informative, and thank you all who came and participated. This is an appropriate time of year, so donations can go to countyharvest.com.
Org.
Oh, org.
Countyharvest.org.
Yes.
Countyharvest.org.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
Here, there. Okay, thank you, Missy.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, everyone. Good
Thank
evening.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Missy.